Well, it's gonna be a hot one today. I'm setting up the camera just to check up on how the beehives are doing. It's gonna get up to 90 degrees and upper 90s in the next couple days ahead. So this is one of the nightmares of people who can't handle hot weather. But anyways, it's been a little while since I recorded anything. I've been just checking along my hives this morning. I'm gonna check on the progress of all three, but I'll record this first one. This is the one where I got the mite mauler queen bee ordered. I wanted one for each one, but the breeder had a problem where he had a bear raid his bee yard despite an electric fence, so he lost half his inventory, and I think this year might be a bust for me to get the other two queens, but it's okay. The other guys are doing great. Anyways, got the smoker going. This is the thing that takes up the most time, I swear, for watching these guys. But what do I use for the smoker? Again, a smoker is effectively a tool for keeping the bees calm, hides their alarm pheromones, and sometimes just irritates them to get out of the way so you can get your job done without worries. But I typically just fire up some good sticks inside that thing with some larger sticks to smolder, and then actually I learned from somebody that a good pair of old cut up jeans or cotton undershirts work as great smoker fuel, because cotton just smolders and smolders and it just creates some nice cool smoke. And so I'm gonna go in here, remove my top cover. This year has been a bit more challenging because May and June were so wet that it actually caused the bees to be bundled up a lot more in their hives, and they actually ended up not getting as much nectar because of it. One of my hives, as I recorded earlier, even swarmed on me because I think they were just so crowded they didn't know what to do with themselves anymore. But here we are. So I'm just popping open the inner cover and checking out what is happening. I'm trying to give them some room. Or see, they like to hang out on the underside of this thing too, but I'll just let them chill out over here while I get to the real meat of what's going on. So up here is my honey super. I only have one. I wasn't really sure how fast they'd end up coming on there, but not a lot of bees to smoke out. Sometimes I just give this thing some puffs just to keep it going, but gets them out of the way anyways. And I'm going to run over, I forgot to grab the frame holder that always helps me get these things a little bit better organized. This little doohickey is actually nice when it hangs over the frame, so rather than wrestling through, throwing them on the ground or whatever, getting them dirty or getting them mixed up, you can pop one out and then just put it onto the side and watch the other ones. So this frame, this is a starter frame. There is nothing on there. It's just completely empty on both sides on the outside. So not too good for honey harvest opportunities, obviously there. But I've got two other hives here. That's just one. And I'm gonna take a look at how the other guys are doing. The outer ones tend to fill in last. They kind of work on the inner ones first. So if one's empty, it doesn't mean it's a complete bust. And getting into the middle, and it does look like they are working on building up some honey frames over here. So here we've got some wax being built up and uncapped honey inside there. This is right now the middle of July, so this is not the best time of year for flowers. I'm sure a lot of ornamentals, and there's some wildflowers, but it's kind of like spring and fall are really the big times of their nectar production. So it's going to be a little bit slow building until later on, but yeah, another one doing pretty well there. So they're definitely nothing harvest worthy at this point in time, but as I'm looking through these bit by bit, there are actually there is actually comb being drawn out. So they're working on it. They're working on it. And so I'm just going to put this super away because it's not there. I'm gonna actually mess them up a little bit. I'm gonna put this empty one in the middle of filled frames. It sometimes encourages them to get moving a little faster because they don't like that kind of disorganization of an empty, full, empty, full. So I'm gonna sneak this one in the middle. I don't know how much it's really gonna help, but a little chaos in life is good for anybody, right? Alright, so we're gonna move on and just re-smoke them again. Gonna pop off this top frame. Yes, I'm not wearing gloves because it's hot out, and gloves do prevent the opportunity of getting stung on the hand, but gloves are also bulky, and one problem with gloves is that I lose my fine motor skills, which could make me increase the chances of dropping something, which increases the chances of getting stung and angry. So, you know, weigh your costs and benefits on that. But alright, so now I'm going to move into the next one. Now these guys here are actually brood boxes. I've got 3 in each one, mainly because after one hive swarmed already, I realized that 2 boxes was not enough. They felt crowded in there, and if somebody's on for expansion, you could always split a hive and get a new hive started off an existing one. But you know, I'm just trying to keep it to 3. I've got a tiny yard and only so much time in the world. So we, by going to 3 boxes, I'm effectively trying to split up the brood to where they are not going to be filling everything up at the same time. Right now, this time of year, we're probably at peak numbers, and they will actually start declining the bee numbers towards the fall because they're going to be, believe it or not, already preparing for wintering on that, trying to build up some extra things. Now here's something pretty cool. Alright, despite the fact that my honey supers were empty, these outer frames, this sucker is locked with capped honey. This is a deep frame. It's supposed to be for brood, but check it out. There is nothing but capped honey on this. Maybe I'm gonna harvest this thing. Sorry kids, thanks for the spring honey, but you'll have time in September to make up for that. So this is good stuff. That is like ready to go. How do I know it's ready to go? It's because it's capped. You saw on the earlier supers, it was called uncapped honey because it was, I'm not gonna pull it out. You saw that those frames were open. The nectar hasn't dried enough to become viscous enough to be permanently stored. If you harvested that honey, it would actually ferment and you'd have problems. So the bees know with their own instincts and observations how thick and viscous it's supposed to be, what specific gravity the honey is supposed to be before they cap it and for storage. So right now the uncapped stuff, they just keep fanning it and letting it thicken up until it's ready, and then they throw some wax over it and it's good to go. So here I have a lot of they call bee bread actually. Okay, on the outside there's capped honey. My recording got interrupted there. I think my camera only lets me have so much time before it just kicks out, but anyway, just to show some observations on there, I had a frame full of honey on one outside thing. I'll check out the other ones, but here's a pretty cool frame that actually has a lot of capped honey, but also the honey on the outside, but eggs being laid on the inside. I don't know if we're gonna catch these so well, but if we look really deep inside those cells, there are little white dots in the middle of them. Those things are actually eggs. I'm gonna put this thing down because I'm getting weak and I don't want to drop this thing. That makes for a bad morning when you start dropping stuff. But anyways, yeah, those are my little mite mauler babies. This queen's name is BB8. I don't know if I could find her in here, but we'll take a look. But in any sense, we've got some really good things going on in here. Oh my gosh, this thing's so full of honey. Oh, it is heavy. Heavy, heavy. That's a frame. I'm not going to drop that. Try not to drop this guy. But it is doing great. So we are looking at the inside and see how calm and peaceful these girls are in the morning. More honey on here, so I'm gonna do a little bit of work around here, but I'm thinking I'm gonna be able to harvest some honey next week, if anything, just from these outer frames, and get it going, because the spring honey tastes better than the fall honey, so it's nice to get that before goldenrod blooms. But anyways, that is the update on the backyard beehive.